What's today? Day 23.
I think so. I ran out of fingers.
Yeah, it's day 23 today, Friday. Friday, day 23. We are, I don't know where we are, actually. We left the Flint family shelter last night. That's where we stayed. I slept like a baby, and it was completely packed. There were probably 8 or 9 of us in there. And today we're just kind of cruising. We're going to do 19 miles. I think we're doing we're doing 19 miles. A couple big mountains. We just got over one of them, and we're also contending with high winds, chance of showers, chance of thunderstorms in the afternoon kind of day. Otherwise, stuff's all good. So there has been a lot of talk of, some people falling off trail already. I mean, we're at 300 miles. When we crossed into top of Georgia, they reminded us that if you make it to the top of Georgia, Hostel, which is like, I don't know, it might be like 10 or 20 miles from the Carolina border. They say something funny like, of everybody that makes it here, like first of all, from everyone that started, only 25 or 30% of the people will make it here. And then of the 25% of the people that make it here, if they make it to Hot Springs, like 50% of those people continue on, but only like another 50% leave top of Georgia and make it to Hot Springs. Something weird like that. I don't, that could be a bunch of BS. It's probably just better to go to the ATC website and see what their completion rate is for the people that register, and that would probably also give you a good idea of what the completion rate is for people who don't register. I do think that people who register are more likely to finish the trail. That's just me, because I haven't really met anyone who hasn't registered. So, if you're hiking every day and you're coming across hikers every day that are through hiking, and you never meet one that says, "Oh, I didn't register, I just decided to start and get her done," then you can say, "Oh, there are people who haven't registered." So anyway, haven't met anyone who hasn't registered. Not the same thing for section hiking. You can register for a section hike as well. A couple people so far. Well, first of all, the whole group that we started with, the day that we started, I don't think that we have seen another person from the day that we started with. I know of 1 or 2 that got out in front of us on like day 2 or day 3. Never saw them again. They could be, long gone up the trail. Maybe 4 or 5 people. I can name the people. Smash, Ace, Leah, Bunny, myself. We all started kind of within the same 3-day period, and we're definitely still all on trail, dispersed a little bit. Some are, I think Ace might be ahead at this point 3 or 4 days. Same thing with Leah. So I know them, but yeah, been some other people that have passed us, just a few. But yeah, everyone else who we started with, I don't know where they are. A couple of them, like I said, could be in front of us, but more than likely, a lot of them, some of them maybe quit, whatever. But it does sound like a lot of people drop off in the first 200 miles. And whether they were starting with the intention of actually hiking the hike, or a second. These hills over here are really steep. We're like in that North Carolina, Tennessee border that's really high altitude. Not really high, but 5,000, 7,000 feet, 6,000 feet. And they throw some steep grades in. But as I was saying, yeah, where's everybody gone? Some of the people who are hiking a little bit slower, like kind of keeping like a 10-mile a day pace or a little bit less than that, you know, we've kind of been learning from them that like some people have like, you know, they partied too hard maybe, or they dropped off because of personal reasons, or someone said he had to go to school. I know of one person that I actually knew who broke their ankle, and another person that I know who we were hiking with for quite some time. I'm wondering where she is. Her name is Karma, super cool lady out of Philly. We were hiking around her for I think almost a week, kind of around the Knock and definitely into Fontana. We haven't seen her since day one of the Smokies, so I hope she's doing all right. I hope she catches up. She was kind of keeping our pace, which we're kind of in this, like, we're trying to average like 15 miles a day until Virginia, and then from Virginia north, I think we're trying to average like 17 to 18 a day. And what that's done for us is it's given us, like, in our first 20, so today's 23, 22, yeah, today's 23, and we've taken 2 zeros and I think 3 neros. So, and we're averaging, today we're at like mile, right now, or tonight we're finishing at mile 327. So anyway, we can do the math on that later. But okay, so what am I getting to? Some people drop off, personal reasons. Some people are like, this trail's not really for me, or I'm not prepared mentally or physically, but I'm having a great time, which a lot of awesome people doing that. But what else? People are breaking their ankles, they're blowing up their knees, they're a lot of ankles. Blisters for us, we've had some terrible blisters. Thankfully we haven't had any like tendon or bone or any kind of weird trauma with our legs. But one of the things that you're seeing is people are, and this is something we talk about a lot, and you hear about it a lot, it's form, F-O-R-M, form. And what does that mean, form? Part of form is efficiency, right? Like it sounds stupid that you have to have form when you're walking, keeping your feet underneath you properly. You have to have form with your trekking poles if you're using trekking poles. You have to have form with the way you wear your pack. Your pack has to work properly. And if it's not working properly, you see people getting, kind of really heavy fatigue, maybe a fatigue in one part of their body, the whole 9 yards. But anyway, I'm going to stop for lunch here at this shelter that's coming up. And when I get back, maybe today we'll talk a little bit more about form. And I'm not the expert on form. I've definitely studied a lot of form, just for myself. I was a carpenter for a long time and a laborer. And I ended up essentially destroying both of my arms. Like, they look like they're really good, but they don't really work that well. This arm just doesn't do anything anymore. And I think I might need some kind of carpal tunnel surgery in it. This other arm it'll get trashed after like a week of hard work. But running, I ran quite a few miles on the trail, and I loved it. And because I loved it, I made sure that I conditioned my body properly. I made sure that I wore the right shoes. I made sure that I wasn't, overextending muscles, overstretching. I really got into that kind of thing, and I think anyone who's serious about anything as they become an adult, when you become serious about it, you have to study it, or else you're just not going to be able to do it forever, or for even an extended period of time, for maybe the length of time that you desire. So, we'll be talking about form here in just a couple of minutes after I stop at this shelter. And that's where we're going today, is Bald Mountain Shelter. Baxter State Park, 1869.6. 320 from Springer. I think we're a little bit, we might be right there at 320. Wow, 47 to Hot Springs. I feel like I just left there. And then Bald Mountain Shelter, 5.7. That's where we're going. Coming out to one of these balds of some sort. This is called, I don't know. It doesn't say what this bald is called. But, as I'm sure you can see, it is pretty out. Oh, there's some vacation homes over there. We crossed Interstate 26, which heads north out of Asheville up to Johnson City. So we're on the north east side of that, which is fantastic. And there's a big bald up on top of that hill over there. Some vacation homes, some classic Carolina mountain vacation homes. It's a thing. If you've ever been to the Carolinas, behind there, that ridge out behind that is that's the Mount Mitchell, or the Black Mountain Ridge. I don't know if you can see it, but it's out there in the distance behind the ridge of homes in front of us. And Mount Mitchell is highest peak on the East Coast. Smash is up there cruising away. He'll be staying in the same shelter with us tonight if we can all get into the shelter. So back to talking about form, and what's really worth talking about in form. I'm gonna only talk about three things. I'm not an expert, but let's just talk about the first thing. Taking good steps. We kind of talked about this in camp. If you make every step count, that sounds so stupid. And it sounds like, oh, you're just walking. But you throw a couple pounds on your back, or even if you don't have any pounds on your back, if you decide to go too far, if you're someone who only walks up and down the stairs in your house, or you walk around the office, or walk around the neighborhood with your dog, push it a little bit. Go another 2 or 3 miles, and you'll start noticing things. You'll say, oh man, my knee feels loose. My foot hurts in the arch. My ankle feels a little funny right now. These are the kinds of things that should be pointing at your form. Some of the obvious corrections right off the front, or some better footwear. But you see people buying better footwear, and it's like they're actually buying the wrong shoe. They're just buying the footwear that's the trendiest or the coolest. Like today we have on the trail, we have the Ultra Lone Peak 4.0, I think is what it is. That's what everybody buys. The reality is it's suited for a certain kind of foot, and it's also suited for a certain kind of leg, and like a certain level of fitness. The biggest problem that I see with that shoe is, well, first of all, it doesn't work for people with flat feet. I don't care how much, or people who overpronate. I don't care how much you say, oh no, it's perfect because it's zero drop. That's what everybody says, but no, all it does, I notice, is that with people who have feet that kind of roll into the arch. So if this is your foot, normally there's an arch right here behind my thumb. People with flat feet, the arch kind of pokes out, and when they walk, instead of walking with the foot that steps on the ground, they end up walking only on the arch. And the thing that you notice when you're behind people who have ultras, who haven't developed, all the muscles in their legs properly, is that it really causes them to even more. Is that good? So yeah, behind the right shoe, I've got a problem with flat feet, and I actually work every day on building my arches. And it's not just by putting an arch in my shoe. It's also by, when I go downhill, I spread all my toes way out, and then I act like, if this is the arch, again, I act like the arch is a thumb, and I just imagine that there's a thumb there. So I'll spread out all my feet, all my toes on the downhill, and then I'll imagine that there's a thumb coming out of my arch, and I try to do the same thing, like spread that thumb out onto the ground. And what that does is it seems like it builds up some of the muscles in my calves and some of the tendons in my calves. The other thing that I do, and there's some videos on YouTube by some really good physical therapists about flat feet, so you should check those out and don't listen to me. But there's a way that you put your foot in front of a mirror while you're standing up, and you pull your Achilles tendon straight. Because the other thing that happens is that the Achilles tendon, instead of it working straight down your leg in a straight line, it actually ends up, I don't know if the word bend is right, but it ends up pointing itself to the inside of your foot. So, well, why is this a problem? Well, when you put, let's say you do have an arch in your foot, and you add 30 pounds on your back, and then you just start running up and down the trail, you might actually flatten out your arch. And, I've seen that happen to a lot of people. I see a lot of people who start out with really good, what I think is really good posture and leg posture, and it looks like they've got a really good foot, and then they end up blowing out their arches because they're carrying too much weight, or they're not making really nice steps. So later I'll just kind of bloviate on trekking poles. You see a lot of people with trekking poles, and they kind of allow themselves to become complacent in their steps. So they're letting the trekking pole do all the work, and then their steps become trippy, and they actually end up hurting themselves because they're not consciously placing their feet on the ground every single time they step. So anyway, just some things I've noticed about form, and then you'll have problems like the blisters. Like, we started having problems with blisters, and blisters throw your form off big time. The pain of the blister, I had this blister on the back of my heel from the Bushido, the La Sportiva Bushido, which is a shoe I love, even though it put a hole in the back of my foot. And to maintain my form, I hate to say it, but I just manned up and just ate right through it. And I just, I said, to hell with the blister and the pain that it's causing me. I'm just going to let this thing tear in the back of my foot even more, because I don't want to, jeopardize my knee or something else. Well, other things that comes up, the other thing that I decided to do is, assist my walk with the trekking pole. And that's, if you're talking about trekking poles, that's like a huge controversial topic. But I think, in short, trekking poles are there to assist you in your walk. So if you're really good at your steps and you have good form, and then you pull your trekking pole out, it can really help you go faster. It can help you go, stronger. For me, I don't pull out trekking poles because I become complacent, and I notice that I'm focusing too much on where I'm going to put the trekking pole, and I just let myself kind of walk around the trekking poles, which, you know, that's kind of how you ski with the trekking pole. But what I end up doing is, yeah, I do that. I walk around my stupid trekking pole. So I don't use trekking poles. I've got one. I've got two of them. We're going to end up sending. Nibbles doesn't use trekking poles either anymore. Both of us have gotten off of them. We each started with a set because we're also starting with more weight, and we're going to send a set home and then each keep one trekking pole because, you know, since the Smokies, since we got out of Fontana, I can actually say that I've used my trekking poles for less than a total of 15 miles. And the whole time I was using them, I was only using one. Two of them become ridiculously annoying. And anyway, I'll talk about trekking poles another time. So for now, if you're going outside or you're even walking around the neighborhood, you know, think about your steps. Look at somebody who's got really good form in the way they walk. I think Darwin on the trail, if you watch any of his videos where he's hiking, he'll always do a shot where he walks by carrying his trekking pole or his trekking poles. And that guy, I think, has great form, if I recall. I haven't watched any of his videos in a long time, but whenever I saw him walk by, I'm like, damn, that guy's got great form. And, you know, part of it is because he's an experienced athlete. Like, he came out of running, I believe he said he came out of running triathlons. And if you want to do a triathlon, you know, you're bringing together a lot of body parts and that you commit them to a single, very difficult race. So those are people who are heavily focused on form. So, you know, maybe watch the way he steps, you know, watch some of your favorite runners, long distance runners and whatnot, and, you know, watch some videos on it. It's definitely worth it. Anyway, I'll shut up for now, but that was talk number one on form, finding or making, you know, good steps every time. Just think about that. While I was talking, we were missing out on another one of these areas that's just blossoming out with all these little white flowers. It is a beautiful day today. It's overcast and cool. You could tell if the sun was out, it would be probably 70 to 75 degrees. So we're starting to get into that part of the year. And yeah, lots of cold air is blowing in as well. There's like this funny system that's coming out of the north, but it's actually wrapping around into the south and then blowing back up this way. So we've got like a front out of Canada that's actually coming in south of us. Pretty wild stuff. Look. A nipple spotting. See? She just cruises along. Going up to that top of that bald right there. It says it's a 800-foot climb from here, and I think like 2 miles to the top, and then we'll go a mile down from the top to the to our shelter. I think it gives us a total today of about 19 miles once we get there. It's been a long day. Lots of climbing today. I feel like we just can't. I don't know if it's the hiker hunger. I just feel like we're not getting like enough food. We're eating a ton, but I eat a lot. I eat way more for dinner than I ever want. I feel like my dinner is like packed with like nutrients and protein, and I drink a lot of water. I use hydration, noon hydration, noon vitamin. Use all kinds of stuff to supplement our our health out here. But in the end, it's just the body that needs to do some more work. I still got some fat on my body, so I'm going to try to see if I can't just talk my body into using up some of these fat cells for doing this climb today. Seems like that always works real well. Elevation doesn't say. Big bald. Elevation here is like 5,600. This is looking south. Well, this is actually looking east. South is more over here. Asheville's kind of down there in this gap between these mountains right here. And then this is the Black Mountain Range. Mount Mitchell, I think, is over here. It could be right there, but Burnsville, that flat mountain out there in the background. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. It's right here. That's Table Mountain at Linville Gorge. And that white thing. Those are some of the mica mines over in Spruce Pine area. Irwin, Tennessee is down below us. And then I believe we're heading, I'm not sure which one's the Roan. I'm not sure if the Roan's up over here, this big guy, or if it's one of these ones over here. I'm not too familiar from this perspective. But yeah, today's been a terrible day of climbing. But the sky is beautiful. Let's do the sky shot. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Maybe some thunderstorms tonight. We're going to be heading right down that pathway right there. Right here. You know what's really weird is if you look out behind me, that's looking back to the southeast. I think this high ridge right here, I'm not sure if I'm really circling what I'm trying to circle. Anyway, the big high ridge behind me, all that stuff. This trail takes you over all the highest little spots. It's like ridiculous, or most of them. So it's like punishing, but it's crazy because you look back, 60 miles, and you're like, I'm sure if I sat down for 30 minutes on gut hooks, I could figure out what peak that is and exactly when we went over it, and probably tell you what video it is. I actually think that was from 2 days ago. Was that 2 days ago or was that yesterday? Maybe that isn't 60 miles away. I don't know. Maybe that was like yesterday. Was that yesterday? Yesterday or the day before when we were getting blown across that ridge. I guess that was yesterday. So if that was yesterday, that's only, I don't know. Let's see. We did 15 and it was right at the beginning, so that could be like 30 miles away, which is still nuts. All right, let's do this one more time. This is cool. I like over here to the left, this is all Tennessee. This area over here with this little low set of let's see here, this little low set of mountains right here, that little thing, I'm gonna have to go over there and hang out sometime, because we live on that big peak right there. That's the Roan. That's the high peak, or it's the peak right behind it actually. I think the peak behind it's the Roan. Anyway, we live down below one of those peaks, about 15 miles to the right. And then this area over here, I just haven't had a chance to come over here and play. And then you look way out, and there's that far ridge. That all goes down to Knoxville, which is over here. There's a place over here called, like, I think it's the Daniel Boone National Forest, way out on the horizon. It's actually past those ridges way on the horizon. I'm planning on going over there next year, and there's like I don't know if I'm gonna hike it next year. There's a trail over there called the Sheltoe Trace. It's like 300 miles long, and it goes into the heart of Kentucky. But I'm gonna go over. They've got a trail. There's a trail group, and I'm gonna have them. They'll shuttle you up to the top of the trail. I think it's like a 3 or 4 hour drive, and you know, it's not 300 miles to the top of the trail by road. It's like whatever 3 or 4 hours it is by interstate. And but actually going through the national forest, and I think it's called the Big Bend Recreation Area. I don't know. You're gonna have to look it up. But yeah, definitely looking forward to going over there. Have been looking forward to going over there as well. But yeah, this is beautiful. Now I know I live here. There it is. That's where we just were, up on top of Big Bald. Definitely gonna have to come back here. That was super cool. Come camping up here one night. You know, I never really know what peak Mount Mitchell is, but I know it's on this range right here. Let me see. There's the antennas. So it's right to the left of the antennas, I believe. We were just up there 4 weeks ago on, I think it was Sunday. That's where we did our shakedown weighted hike. We climbed from the bottom of, what the hell's the name of that? We climbed, there's a campground, Boland's Creek, I think is what it is. It could be, yeah, I think it's Boland's Creek campground, up to the top of Mount Mitchell, and then cruised back down. Made sure everything worked. Shoes, weight, packs. It's crazy. It was only, I think it's like 5.6 miles up and 5.6 down. It was like an 11-mile day. And we could hardly walk after that. We did like 11 miles. And let's just take another look over here. Yeah, we did 11 miles up to that peak. And about wore ourselves out for about 3 or 4 days. Our legs were just fried. So it's a good one to shakedown hike on, because you're first, until you get out of Georgia, there's just like nothing that compares to that. I mean, I don't even know, like Blood Mountain, maybe heading southbound is tough, but you climb like, once you get into North Carolina, you climb like 2 Blood Mountains a day at least. It's crazy. It's like freaking brutal around here. We just did 2. Well, I think Blood Mountain was like, maybe it was close to 2,000 feet. But we just climbed 800 over less, like over a half, like just over a half mile, and then we climbed. And today was another day. It was just like 5,000 feet of climbing. It was just brutal. This is a good end of the day. So we're gonna be pulling into the shelter here probably in the next 20 minutes. We're about a mile away. And we're gonna eat and go to sleep and do it all again tomorrow.